WNBA owners could be forcing Adam Silver to dismantle the WNBA.
Not survive to see next season. Owners just dropped a bombshell statement. Adam Silver caught in an impossible situation, and the players are threatening to strike over money the league doesn't even have. Meanwhile, everyone's watching to see if Caitlin Clark will be the one person with enough sense to pump the brakes. The league's burning down and nobody's holding a fire extinguisher. This is wild. Here's what I want to know. At what point does fighting for more money become fighting yourself out of a job?
Percentage that you think gets this deal done?
Oh, I don't think Adam Silver has any interest in pegging it to a percentage at all. And Adam Silver addressed the media during the League Cup final in Vegas and said that he'll get involved if they want him to. But here's the surprise. He's been involved from the beginning. What he was saying is, will I go to the actual table? You don't need the commissioner of the NBA to be at this table at any time. But what they've done is they've extended the deadline first by 30 days, 40 days. So it's been a total of 70 days, which all you're doing is delaying a work stoppage. You want to get to that work stoppage because that's a legal term of art. You want to get to some sort of lockout or strike so then it can go to the next stage of these negotiations.
What's the percentage that you think gets this deal done? Oh, I don't think Adam Silver has any interest in pegging it to a percentage at all. And Adam Silver addressed the media during the League Cup final in Vegas and said that he'll get involved if they want him to. But here's the surprise. He's been involved from the beginning. What he was saying is, will I go to the actual table? You don't need the commissioner of the NBA to be at this table at any time. But what they've done is they've extended the deadline first by 30 days, 40 days. So, it's been a total of 70 days, which all you're doing is delaying a work stoppage. You want to get to that work stoppage because that's a legal term of art. You want to get to some sort of lockout or strike, so then it can go to the next stage of these negotiations. Let's get straight to the point because this situation is absolutely bananas. WNBA owners are reportedly so fed up with these CBA negotiations that some insiders are suggesting they might just let Adam Silver pull the plug on the entire league. Not restructure it, not pause it, end it. And before you think that's impossible, let me walk you through why we're actually at this point.
Standing here is that the players in the WNBA want to have a pegged revenue number the way they have it in the NBA. And Adam Silver is saying no because the NBA owners are saying no because that's not taking into account all of the money that the WNBA owners need to profit and take off the table to pay down debt that has been accruing over the decades of losses. So that is why they're not having a meeting of the minds on any percentage, which is why the NBA is offering minimum salaries increasing like up to $1 million, because then you can absolutely chart and express what your expenses will be.
The current CBA negotiations have become a complete disaster. The players want to strike. The owners are saying they're offering exactly what the league can afford. And Adam Silver is stuck in the middle trying to mediate between two sides that can't agree on basic math. According to reports, Kathy Angelbert's job might even be on the table as part of these negotiations. Word on the street is that players want her gone, and apparently some owners wouldn't mind a fresh start either. Whether that's actually holding up the deal is unclear, but when everyone wants your commissioner fired, that's not exactly a sign of healthy labor relations. So, here's what the owners put on the table. And honestly, it's not a bad offer considering the league's financial reality. They're proposing a $1 million max salary. The average salary would jump to around $417,000. There's roughly $200,000 in potential incentives, which means the actual supermax could reach $2 million when you factor everything in. Plus, they're offering some level of revenue sharing. That's a massive increase from the current situation where the max salary is barely over $200,000.
The players are not going to move on a revenue split versus derived revenue share off of a fixed number. What is your opinion on what happens?
Maybe the end of the WNBA. The players will move.
The players looked at this offer and said no. Not just no, but we're voting to authorize a strike.
No.
And here's the kicker. 98% of players voted to authorize this strike. Only 3% held out. Now, everyone's speculating about who those few holdouts are, and Caitlin Clark's name keeps coming up. Nobody's confirmed it, but people are connecting dots because she's the one player who might actually understand that killing the golden goose isn't a great long-term strategy. Let's be real about something the players don't want to hear. The offer on the table is substantially better than what they currently have. We're talking about doubling or even tripling some salaries. The max salary goes from $200,000 to $1 million. That's not a small bump. That's life-changing money for most people. But apparently in the players' minds, they deserve even more. And I'm here to tell you something that's going to make some people mad. They don't.
What if the WNBA folds? Unpopular to who? To the large majority of the... I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. If what you're saying that there have been expansion fees paid and they're trying to expand and they've got broadcast deals that were totally pinned to the NBA deals, is that what you mean by unpopular? What I'm telling you is that if the players get too greedy, it will be the end of the WNBA. That's not the end of the world for them.
Because these owners are bending over backwards trying to make this work. They're losing money hand over fist year after year, and they're still offering to dramatically increase player compensation. Meanwhile, the players are acting like they're getting disrespected when the reality is they're getting offered more money than the league actually generates. That's not sustainable. That's not how businesses work. That's fantasy economics. One NBA labor expert went on the Lee Bart Show and broke down exactly what's happening behind the scenes. And it's even worse than most people realize. Adam Silver has been involved in these negotiations from the beginning. Despite publicly saying he'll step in if needed, he's already there. The problem is that no amount of Adam Silver's negotiating skills can change basic mathematics. The players want their salaries pegged to a percentage of revenue, just like NBA players have. The owners are saying absolutely not.
And here's why.
The WNBA has been accumulating debt for decades. This is the part nobody wants to talk about. The WNBA isn't just unprofitable right now. It's been hemorrhaging money since it started. Every year, the league loses tens of millions of dollars. The NBA has been subsidizing it this entire time. So when the players demand a fixed percentage of revenue, the owners are looking at them like they've lost their minds because that revenue share model assumes the business is profitable. It assumes there's actual money to split after expenses. The WNBA doesn't have that. What they have is debt that needs to be paid down before anybody starts dividing up imaginary profits. The expert on that podcast made it crystal clear. The owners want to control their expenses. They want to know exactly how much they're spending on salaries, so they can actually plan for profitability eventually. They can't do that with a percentage-based model when the revenue fluctuates and is barely enough to cover operations. Anyway, the players are essentially demanding a piece of a pie that doesn't exist yet, and they're threatening to destroy the whole bakery if they don't get it. Now, the owners are trying to get creative. They're saying, okay, we'll eliminate some benefits like housing, but we'll make the max salaries even higher. They're trying to shift money around to make the headline numbers look better while reducing their overall expenses. It's smart business, honestly. They cater to the elite players who drive the headlines, cut costs elsewhere, and hope that satisfies enough people to get a deal done. But here's the thing, that strategy usually comes from the union side, not management. The fact that owners are proposing it shows how desperate they are to avoid a complete collapse. The negotiation expert explained how this process usually works. You put a price on everything. Housing costs this much per team. Retirement benefits cost that much. Minimum salary increases cost this amount across the board. Then you trade items back and forth until both sides feel like they got something valuable. But the key is that owners always want to come out ahead. They want to get more value than they give up. That's business. That's how negotiations work. And right now, the WNBA players are demanding things that would put owners so far in the red that there's no coming back. Here's where it gets really scary. The expert said, and I'm not making this up, that if the players don't move off their demand for a revenue percentage, the end result might be the end of the WNBA. He didn't stutter. He didn't hedge. He said the league could fold. And when the host pushed back, asking how real that possibility is, the expert doubled down. He said, "This is absolutely the moment when a well-funded competitor could swoop in and start a new league." Think about that for a second. Every WNBA player is currently a free agent during these negotiations. They all need money. They all want more money. If someone like Project B or any other well-capitalized group decided right now to launch a competing league with better pay, they could poach every talented player from the WNBA overnight. The league would be done, finished. And Adam Silver knows it. The players know it. But apparently they're willing to risk it anyway. The players made a massive strategic mistake, and the expert called it out directly. They declared that this is their moment. They put all this pressure on themselves to get huge concessions in the CBA because of Caitlin Clark's impact and the increased visibility. But that's terrible negotiating strategy. You're supposed to make incremental gains across multiple agreements. You build slowly. You don't go for everything at once because then you back yourself into a corner where anything less than total victory feels like failure. That's exactly where the players are right now. They've hyped themselves up so much that they can't accept a deal that doubles their money because it doesn't feel like enough of a win. They've created a situation where reasonable compromise looks like defeat. And that psychological trap might actually kill the league. Let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to address, the fans. The entire negotiation is built on the assumption that fan interest will continue growing, but here's a reality check. Most of that growth came from one player. Caitlin Clark brought millions of new viewers. She sold out arenas. She made casual sports fans care about the WNBA. Take her out of the equation, and what do you have? You have a league that was struggling to get 3,000 people in seats for most teams. You have a league that was losing money every single year. The players want NBA money, but they're not generating NBA revenue. It's that simple. Ad revenue drives these massive salaries in the NBA. People watch NBA games in huge numbers, which means companies pay top dollar for commercials, which means the league makes billions, which means players get massive contracts. The WNBA doesn't have those viewership numbers. Outside of games featuring a handful of stars, the ratings are still pretty rough. You can't demand 9-figure salaries when the product isn't generating 9-figure revenue. That's not sexism. That's not discrimination. That's basic business. And here's the part that should terrify the players. The owners are done playing nice. They've been subsidizing this league for decades out of goodwill and a genuine desire to support women's basketball. But goodwill has limits. When you're losing tens of millions of dollars every year, and the players are demanding you lose even more while threatening to strike, at some point, you just walk away. You cut your losses. You shut it down. And apparently we're closer to that point than anyone wants to admit. The debt situation is critical. The expert explained that owners can't agree to a percentage of revenue when they need every dollar they make to pay down existing debt. The league has been operating in the red for so long that they're trying to dig out of a massive hole. Giving players a bigger piece of revenue that barely covers current operations means that debt never gets paid. It just keeps growing until the whole thing collapses. Is under its own weight. So, what are the players' options if the WNBA folds? Actually, they've got some. Unrivaled is paying players significant money for a short season. International leagues are offering multi-million-dollar contracts to top talent. Project B might launch as a competitor with better compensation. The players aren't helpless here. But you know who is helpless? All the players who aren't stars. All the women in the middle and bottom of rosters who need the WNBA to exist because they're not getting those big overseas offers. They're not getting those unrivaled contracts. They're the ones who get absolutely crushed if this league disappears. That's why this all-or-nothing negotiating strategy is so reckless. The top 10 players will be fine. Caitlin Clark will be fine. She'll make her money through endorsements and alternative leagues. But what about player number 75 on a roster? What about the veterans who are too old for the international grind? What about the young players who need development time that only a domestic league provides?
They all lose badly.
The owners have offered revenue sharing. They've offered dramatically higher salaries. They've offered incentives and benefits. And the players are saying it's not enough because they want NBA money. But the WNBA isn't the NBA. It doesn't have the NBA's revenue. It doesn't have the NBA's viewership. It doesn't have the NBA's profit margins. Pretending otherwise doesn't make it true. It just makes you look out of touch with reality. Here's the sarcastic truth that needs to be said. The players think they have all the leverage because the league is finally getting attention. But they're misreading the situation. The attention is fragile. It's new. It could disappear as quickly as it arrived. And if they force a work stoppage, if they kill momentum with a strike, if they drive casual fans away by making this all about money instead of basketball, that attention will vanish. Those fans who just started watching because of Caitlin Clark, they'll move on. They're not diehards yet. They're tourists. And you don't build a sustainable business by annoying tourists until they leave. The owners can walk away. They've been losing money anyway. If the players force their hand, they can just shut it down, claim they tried their best, and redirect their investments elsewhere. The players can't walk away. This is their career. This is their livelihood. They need the WNBA more than the WNBA needs any individual player. But they're negotiating like they have all the power, and that miscalculation could be fatal. Adam Silver is stuck trying to prevent a disaster. He can't force the owners to accept a deal that guarantees more losses. He can't force the players to accept reality. All he can do is extend deadlines and hope that eventually someone blinks. But extending deadlines just delays the inevitable work stoppage. At some point, either there's a deal, or there's a strike, or there's a lockout. And once that happens, the real negotiations begin. Except in this case, those real negotiations might just be exit negotiations about how to wind down the league. The WNBA is standing at the edge of a cliff, and the players are asking for a running start. Owners have offered massive raises, but apparently that's not enough when you're demanding money that doesn't exist. If this league collapses because players got too greedy, remember this moment. Hit that like button if you want to see common sense win, and subscribe for more truth bombs.